Good morning and welcome to the summer full board meeting of the Jackson County Economic Development Partnership. Things are going to be a little bit different today. We're not going to go with our usual format. We will resume the usual format at our fall meeting. But since we've got a special meeting with a special agenda today, probably the first thing I want to do is to, by the way, my name's Steve Pritchett. I am the chairman, and that's Sam Brady. He's our CEO right there. The first thing I want to do is acknowledge some folks in attendance here, some dignitaries. So I'll go down the list and introduce some people. We'll first start out our state representative for the Ohio 93rd District, Jason Stevens. Thanks for coming. From the office of the City of Jackson, Ohio, we have Mayor Randy Evans. Our City Service Director, Dave Swackhammer, back there. Two folks from City Council, Debbie Biggs, and I forget your name, Marva Colby. Yeah. County Commissioners, Paul Howler. And we've got Donnie Willis right here. And while we're still in Jackson, I want to introduce Brian Leach. He is the co-executive director of the Chamber of Commerce, right there. Mayor Charlie Hudson, City of Wellston. Charlie, you back there? From the office of Lieutenant Governor Husted, Bryn Stepp. I just saw her a minute ago. Hi, Bryn. Senator Portman's office, Jamie Barker. President of Appalachian Partnership, Inc., Dr. Glenda Bumgarner. From the Office of Governor DeWine, Bonnie Ward. Representing Ohio Southeast Economic Development, we've got Mike Jacoby here. Taylor Stepp. Hi, Taylor. Destiny Bryson. Joint Economic Development Initiative of Southern Ohio, also known as JCEDP, Tammy Eallonardo. Gary Arnett. And Robert Horton. Thank you very much, and I will turn the program over to our CEO, Sam Brady.
Well, first off, thank you everyone for coming today. We couldn't have asked for better weather in late July for this event announcement. Before we get started though, we kind of want to do a recap of what has been going on behind us here on the 22 acres of the former Meridian automotive plant site owned by the partnership. As you all recall, in 2006, we had a major work stoppage with the Meridian automotive plant. 400 of the highest paying jobs in the community were lost, and a horrible departure was eventually led to Meridian leaving the community in 2007. And in many ways, we have never, 15 years later, we still have not recovered from those losses, even though all the partners in this room are working diligently every day to not only mitigate those losses, but move forward from there. In 2015, the plant, which was owned by the Jackson Community Improvement Corporation, was demolished. The plant was left in a horrible condition by the previous occupant. And as happened to many scheduled industrial facilities, every bit of precious metal and usable metals were stripped from the facility, stolen. It was just left in a really bad state of disrepair with some questionable environmental concerns unanswered. Our office was able to actually work with then State Representative Ryan Smith's office, which Taylor Stepp was on staff at that time with Rep. Smith. Working with the Ohio EPA, we actually are able to leverage multiple grants for this property through their targeted brownfield assessment program, the TBA program, we were actually able to secure a phase 1 and phase 2 environmental site assessment, as long with eventually the remedial action plan, which was spelled out the process that we are discussing today, which led us to, in November of 2018, with the clock ticking against us to access a opportunity through Jobs Ohio, our office was able to secure a $1.699 million grant opportunity through the pilot redevelopment site program that Jobs Ohio had at the time, which I believe we were the very last project funded under that program before it sunsetted. So that was really burning the midnight oil during that time. My wife was very jealous of all the time I was spending with Taylor Stepp, but it was for the greater good. So with that commitment, we were able to actually purchase just over 22 acres of the property behind us. You'll see it actually outlined here in the green and gray. It includes the drive, on the main drive on the State Route 93 side, as well as the drive adjacent to the Vinton County Bank, and a dog leg there at the three-way intersection next to Walmart, all with hopes of redeveloping this for future jobs. Even though the funding was announced in November of 18, it wasn't until May of the next year, in 2019, that we were actually transfer the property from the CIC to the partnership. And then it took about 2 more months from there to actually get started with the remediation. That work was selected to occur through Tetra Tech, acting on behalf of the partnership to lead the effort. And we found a lot of interesting things in the course of this project. The best way I could describe this to somebody who hasn't been around it was doing exploratory surgery on a patient you don't know what disease they have or how extensive it is. The term unforeseen site circumstances comes into play here. And through that process, we removed, make sure I pronounce these things correctly, multiple contaminants, including total petroleum hydrocarbons, benzopyrene, styrene, and ethylbenzene. All of these are cancer-causing agents. And in one area of the pad behind me, the Tetra Tech team actually found contamination of over 47 times allowable limits for some of those chemicals. In many places of the property, there were no real extensive site plans spelling out exactly where things were. We thought those existed in the community, and once we tore into the property, we discovered those things did not exist. So we were really going in blind in a lot of places, just following the concrete, following the line, the hydraulic lines that were there. And in some places, we had to excavate 20 feet below the surface to find exactly where things were. In the course of all that, over 4,999 tons of contaminated soil, concrete, and sediment was removed from the site and actually disposed of at Rumpke, with over 10,000 tons of concrete that actually were determined to be non-hazardous, actually could be recycled. The city of Jackson put them to work in some projects, as well as Liberty Township took them to help mitigate some flood circumstances. So those actually were recycled at a cost that was not a disposal cost, but actually a value add to some public partners. So we are happy to actually have those things of benefit to the community, as opposed to them having to incur costs for the materials they needed for those projects. I did some math though, and the weight of the total materials that were removed from the site actually is greater than the weight of the newest class of guided missile destroyers being constructed by the U.S. Navy. So just at 15,000 tons of material. I didn't realize there was 15,000 tons of material on this property, but there was. Along the way, the remediation team excavated over 37 machine pits, 2 stormwater runoff basins, which I believe would be the North Creek and the South Creek, am I correct? Those were completely remediated. as well as 13 of the pits were over 15 feet in depth and 20 feet wide, reinforced with steel and concrete to minimize vibration. And the presses that Goodyear were running here, it made sense that they had to be calibrated with absolutely zero vibration risk, which led to, God bless you, sir. That's not a contamination for the property. That's done. The concrete and the rebar here was, I've never seen anything like it. We have some pictures on file for those who may want to see them one day, but I am convinced that some of the rebar they installed here had the ability to replicate itself because it looked like it was growing in some instances. But that all leads to why we've invited everyone here today. Last summer, we actually completed the remediation activities as we found them to be. And in August of last year, we applied to the Ohio EPA for a determination of no further action and requesting a covenant not to sue for the property as it relates to environmental contamination and liability. And I am pleased to officially announce in June 24th of this year, the Ohio EPA director signed off on the no further action letter and covenant not to sue. Meridian is officially clean. And with that being said, Meridian is officially done as Meridian. From this day forward, the partnership in Ohio Southeast are going forward with the marketing direction of this is now the Jackson, Ohio Industrial Rail Site. Never again will we refer to it officially as Meridian. Meridian is the past, rail is the future. Working with some data I requested from Ohio Southeast, we've discovered that there have been since 2015, over 53, or right at 53, site searches their team conducted that were rail specific, that this property was never considered for any one of them. Never had an opportunity because, quite frankly, when you have the questions of environmental liability, environmental questions, the property doesn't exist. It's not available. I'm happy to say, at least now, we have the opportunity to be at bat. We can actually pitch the property now. We can submit it, and we have an opportunity to compete, whereas before we weren't even in the game. So, as my colleagues here will tell you, you strike out a whole lot more than you get a hit or even a home run in this profession. But at least now we have the opportunity to be in the game and to be recognized. And there are a lot of people in this room to thank for that. And I want to thank, first of all, Amanda and Jennifer for all their help. You wouldn't be surprised, you'd be amazed to know what these two part-time staff members, and Jennifer's more than a staff member, she's the consigliere. She still has wisdom to offer, and if you like the direction the program's going, Jennifer trained me. If you have problems with it, Jennifer trained me. But they're doing great things for this community, and they're involved. And our job doesn't stop at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. There are times that I'm texting Amanda up until the time she goes to bed at night because we're doing things. Things are going on. Our families, they do this with us. They pay a price with us, and I want to thank them for all their work and effort and even setting this up. And I want to thank my family and theirs for the sacrifices we all make. I want to thank probably one of the finest executive committees this organization's ever put together. You have been a wealth of knowledge, inspiration, accountability, and support that I talk to all of them on a regular basis, collectively and individually, for their different skill sets and what they bring to the table. And I really especially want to thank Mayor Evans for helping us get to where we are at the close of this project. He is the third mayor of Jackson to deal with this property. And prayerfully, he is the mayor that sees it sold and redeveloped. So we're working diligently towards that. And I also want to thank, especially we have Councilwoman Colby and Biggs here with us. Thank you for the ongoing support the city of Jackson provides to the organization. We couldn't do it without the city's leadership. You guys are a great inspiration of leadership for the rest of the county to follow as far as support for economic development. And of course, our commissioners have been involved in cheerleading for this project from day one. And of course, Jobs Ohio, Ohio Southeast. I'm going to have the privilege of introducing Mike Jacoby here in a second. I cannot, we'd be here all day if I actually told all the stories of what Mike and his team, especially Taylor in the lead up to this, made happen for this community. They are the hardest working team in show business. There's no doubt about that. And of course, our public partners, all of the office holders represented here today. This project has broad support, and it's a testament to the leadership in Ohio right now and the support and direction of jobs, jobs, jobs. That's what Ohio is all about. And I would be remiss if I did not draw attention to Mr. George Andrus. He has been such a godsend to Southern Ohio, to the city of Jackson, and to our program. And his redevelopment of this building right here for transload and for, again, jobs in this community. We got a great team of supporters, and I'm very proud to be a part of it. So that being said, there are a lot more people here who want to brag and, talk about this great event for not just Jackson County, but Southern Ohio. Whether you know it or not, you have the most significant 20 acres in Southern Ohio with the crossroads of US 35, 1,200-foot rail spur on site. We've got a lot to offer here. So we're going to begin with introducing Jason Stevens. He is, of course, our state representative. His first day on the job, I was getting a phone call from a cell phone number I didn't recognize, and he wasn't calling to tell me no or to sell me something other than, Sam, tell me how I can help. He's done this at the county level, been part of projects. He knows the hard work it takes. So it's my privilege to introduce State Representative Jason Stevens to offer some remarks.
Thank you, Sam. I joke with folks. So I live in the Chesapeake area, and our cell phone service, whenever you used to get bag phones, was in Huntington. So I have a 304 West Virginia number. And so when I call folks in Ohio, they think I'm selling them a car warranty if they don't have they don't have a name in there. And I always joke with Sam. I said, no, I'm not selling you a car warranty. I'm just checking to see how we're doing. This is an exciting day. These are exciting events because this is the type of action that we have to deal with in Southern Ohio and Appalachia, is cleaning up, our past so that we can go to the future. And it is exciting to see, the opportunity that can come because of this. But what's exciting for me to see is this may be the first project like this in a while, but it's not going to be the last, because what I see is I look around the room and see so many folks from all over, here in Jackson County, rooting for this project and wanting it to succeed and not really worrying about the credit. It's just going to happen. And so I give Sam a lot of credit for that. And I know how much, Jobs Ohio and Taylor and Mike and you guys and so many folks have really worked to make these kind of things happen, that it's just really exciting to be a part of. And I'm looking forward to coming to the ribbon cutting ceremony or the groundbreaking ceremony, and then we'll do a couple ceremonies about what happens. But I've seen communities, even in our community in South Point, Ohio. This was 20 some years ago, was a Superfund site. And now there are over 750 jobs at that site. Now, it took 20 years and it took a long time and it took a lot of different people working on that. But these are the kind of challenges we have, and it's where the state of Ohio really is beneficial to helping our communities to rebound and to be able to grow into the future. So I don't want to talk too long, but I do appreciate the opportunity to speak. And I feel like a cheerleader here today, but I'm really, really excited for our whole community. So thank you very much.
Also, we are, Darnita came in, I didn't see you. We are joined by Darnita Bradley from Jobs Ohio. Darnita, actually, it's not her first trip to Jackson County. She's actually worked projects down here previously with Columbia Gas, so she understands the hard work that goes on here. We are privileged today to be joined by a former Jobs Ohio alumni. She now leads the effort over Appalachian Partnership, Inc., who is the parent company of Ohio Southeast, but she has been a great friend of this community. She actually cheerled this project previously and helped sell it internally at Jobs Ohio, as I understand it. So I want to invite up Dr. Glenda Bumgarner. She's the president and CEO of Appalachian Partners Inc., as I mentioned, and a friend of this community.
What a beautiful day for an event like this. I'm privileged and honored to be here. And, I will tell you, I've been in my role about 9 months at the Appalachian Partnership. And our mission is to help advance economic development, specifically prosperity for the citizens and the businesses who are part of our 32 counties in the Appalachian region. It's been, my heart is in Appalachia. I heard you mention South Point, Representative Stevens. I spent a lot of summers in South Point when there was nothing in Lawrence County. Had an uncle who lived there and from Huntington, West Virginia. My mother's from a very close area there. But it's been my privilege and honor through different positions that I've held to cover the state and then some other states and see the best practices of economic development. And I will tell you that 5 years ago, the message from Appalachia was that we have nothing, we can do nothing, and we can't go forward. And that conversation has changed because I think there's a lot of you who have rolled up your sleeves, who have said we will do something and we'll find a way to collaborate to make that happen. Clearly, you have done that. I've known Sam and Jennifer, can't say enough about just their commitment to serve their communities. And for me, how can I be helpful to you? The Appalachian, let me grab that. The Appalachian Partnership, our board of directors is CEOs of the region that we are identifying who I would consider the highest influencers. And we're just getting started. We have 14 members. I plan to hopefully have it to be about 75 CEOs in the region who are willing to make phone calls for us. One of my key jobs is to identify and attract resources for our communities and people like Sam to use. So for example, last 2 months ago, 3 or 4 or 5 of my board members and I met with the governor, the lieutenant governor, and several members of his cabinet. And we asked for a significant amount of money to help with small business loans and development. And we had our facts. We understand the compounding impact when Ohio Southeast and Taylor and Mike and the team are working on the economic development front with Sam and the community. For every $1 of the state's investment, we are pulling down about 15 leverage dollars in private investment. So, in order to attract that private investment, we have to be able to clean up the Meridian site. We have to be able to at least have the resources from the state. So we kind of talk to them in their language about compounding impact. A sunk dollar is a sunk dollar, but an invested dollar will pay off for generations to come. And my heart is heavy. I don't mind telling you, we are making plays for this ARPA money like nobody's business, but my heart is heavy because my son and my grandchildren will probably be paying some of that money back over time. So if we can invest it in ways that our citizens can grow their own wealth and our businesses will thrive and our communities, what you all have been doing is just fascinating and unprecedented. I want to be a part of that, and I'll echo Representative Stevens' question, which is how can we be helpful? We are finally, just one more thing I'll say to you, 2 more things. With Sam and Jennifer and clearly the commissioners and the mayor's efforts and support and many others, you have without a doubt one of the finest economic development teams in the state who are passionate and committed, and they put their hands to the plow. And you can't teach that. You can't buy that. It is intrinsic, and it's passion for your community. So I just want you to know, when we've seen it other places, it doesn't always work like this. And then secondarily, one of the things that we are forming is My understanding is the Senate President and the House Speaker have agreed to form an Appalachian delegation partnership. Its first meeting, I think, is sometime later next week. And what we will be doing is I'm inviting all of the Appalachian legislators to be a part of that conversation, because when Route 33 was built, it was the CEOs in the region working in tandem with the legislators to make the big ask for our region and represent. So I'm hoping that we'll be a part of those conversations as well. I know our governor, I can't say enough, Bonnie and Bren, thank you for your representation of Governor DeWine and Lieutenant Governor Husted. Amazing and passionate leaders for this state. And, the governor, when you ask to meet, he will meet. He's accessible, and so is the lieutenant governor. And, that accessibility has been unprecedented in my experience. So I'll shut up. You've got lots of speakers. Thank you, everyone. If I've been remiss in thanking any of our team, keep going. You guys are doing great. Thank you, Sam, for the invitation. Thank you.
Next is someone who really needs no introduction. In fact, he almost may have struck a billboard behind us a little bit ago. We are privileged. I've gotten to know this gentleman over the last year and a half since he took office, but we are privileged to be joined today by Mayor Randy Evans, who really brought his construction knowledge to bear at the close of this phase of the project. The project's not done. We still have a lot of work to do, but this is a significant benchmark that needed to be celebrated today. But we're privileged to be joined by Mayor Evans, and I'm offering the opportunity to make some remarks.
Thank you, Sam. Sam and his office are very efficient, because when he invited me here to say a few words, they even provided me with talking points. But then he gets up here and he said it all. So I don't know what you want me to do now, Sam. But I was talking to Commissioner Howler, though, thankfully. We went to school together. So I always like, and he knows this, I always like to take a chance to talk about the Paul Howler from high school. Not the Commissioner Paul Howler, but the Paul Howler from high school. Anyway, he's offered and promised me a large sum of money not to. So you're safe for now, Paul. And you get a chance to speak next. But anyway, Sam says this is no longer. Come on in, man. Come join us. Sam says this is no longer to be referred to as the Meridian automotive site. Well, to Paul and I, it never was, really. This is the Goodyear site. And when we were kids and when we were in school, there was a big, beautiful Goodyear plant right there, Goodyear Automotive. And it provided several hundred great jobs to Jackson. And there were Jackson citizens and families who worked their whole career there. In fact, a good friend of Paul and I from school got a job right out of high school there, a good paying job. While Paul and I went off to do other things, he was there making the big bucks driving a brand new black Trans Am, which was the car in that day. And he spent most of his career there. Eventually it was overtaken by Meridian, and in 2007 it did shut down. And really, ever since then, it's been an eyesore for Jackson, for the city of Jackson, and just really the county as a whole. But the previous mayors to me since then, and me for the last year and a half, we have supported the efforts of the CIC, who owned the property previously, and the Economic Development Partnership, who now owns it, to mitigate this property for redevelopment and to seek the funding to clean it up and to get that all-important covenant not to sue, which Sam announced that they now have. Since that time, too, since 2007, the city has made improvements to water and sewer lines along the east property here and along Veterans Drive here to make this property even more attractive for redevelopment. Last year, in partnership with with the partnership, the Economic Development Partnership, the City of Jackson participated in a mock site visit at City Hall with Jobs Ohio. And based upon the feedback that day, this is a very attractive site for companies to locate in Southeast Ohio. However, without that EPA covenant not to sue, nothing was going to happen. So it really is a important document that they now have. The issuing of this does bring us a step closer to marketing this new Jackson, Ohio industrial rail site, as Sam named it. And he has a knack of naming things, by the way. But it is one step closer to attracting new investment, new jobs. In the city of Jackson, we are committed to providing water, sewer, electric, rail, and other incentives for one of the premier rail sites of the Ohio Southeast inventory. So, thank you.
If I know you were actually willing to read remarks as they're presented, I would actually put a whole lot more about me in there. But yeah. The mayor mentioned the naming of the property. That naming convention actually was not anything super creative come from us. Actually, that the stylism of Jackson, Ohio Industrial Rail Site came from site selection consultants that Jobs Ohio and Ohio Southeast actually brought to the community and gave us their expertise, saying this is exactly how you name something to draw the correct attention to it. So once again, it's about those relationships and collaborations that we're able to leverage, and we're going to take full advantage of every opportunity we can in that regard. I am now privileged to introduce a man who's been referenced and even roasted a few times as we've gone this morning. So I'm going to invite up Commissioner Paul Haller. He is a member of our executive committee and the president of the Jackson County Commissioners, and he's been walking this path with us ever since he got in office. So I know he is personally excited to hear this announcement today. So Commissioner Haller, if you can dodge tomatoes for Mayor Evans, please get up here and say a few words.
Well, Randy Evans and myself he said that we're classmates, class of 77. A lot of people don't know that the treasurer for Jackson County is also one of our classmates. So class of 77 is pretty strong in leadership in Jackson County. But, we're blessed here today. We're blessed to have a team that's been in place for 8 years that started with a vision. And that vision came from Jennifer Jacobs. I remember as in my first few months as Jackson County Commissioner, over 8 years ago, that Jennifer set myself down, the executive committee at that time. I had a board there, and we started writing down the most important things to Jackson County. One was a terminal for the airport. We've accomplished that goal. One of the goals was to develop the Meridian or the Goodyear property. And thank Randy for bringing that up, because that's what I grew up knowing this property was the Goodyear property. But that vision has stood fast through change of mayors, commissioners, executive board members, full board members, changes in leadership in the state, our local representatives. But that goal and that focus and that vision stood fast. And we thank Jennifer for that, because she kept it at the top. She passed it on to Sam, and Sam has kept it at the top. It brings us to today. We can't do anything without that covenant not to sue, and we've achieved it. I can't thank her enough. I can't thank Sam enough. I can't thank the good Lord enough, what he has just done for Jackson County. So I want to personally thank them again. I want to thank our team. Everybody's been thanked here so many times. Sam's done a great job recognizing everybody. I'm not going to go through that again, but let me tell you what, this is a great day for Jackson County. Thank you.
Commissioner Howler alluded to something that I tell Taylor Stepp at least 3 times a week. And that's God loves Jackson County. It's policy. Steve introduced this team earlier today, but I am really privileged to be joined by not just the current roster of the JCEDP team, but also some past members and bulwarks of the profession. But we got a great group of a multi-county team that really cares about Southern Ohio as well as their own communities. And I can't thank Gary Arnett, Pike County, and Robert Horton from Scioto County enough for what they've done, and Tammy Eallonardo from Ross County. And Tammy actually sits as the secretary of the JCEDP organization. So on behalf of JCEDP and Florida BXT, Tammy's going to come offer some remarks, because if it wasn't for FLIR's commitment through the Department of Energy Community Commitment Plan as part of the cleanup at Piketon, we would never have the match money to pair with the Jobs Ohio dollars, because those who know our balance sheet and how we fundraise, we did not have the money either through our public partners or our own budget to make this project happen. So Tammy, please come offer some remarks. And
I want to know, if you hadn't had the input from the site selectors, what was the name you were going to use? Brady Acres?
am I that transparent?
Good afternoon. I'm Tammy Eallonardo. I'm the Director of Economic Development for Ross County and the City of Chillicothe. And Ross County is proud to be one of the 4 members of JCEDP, which is Joint Economic Development Initiative of Southern Ohio. And Sam alluded to it, but I was also going to mention that we're very fortunate to have people that came ahead of us that had a vision for Southern Ohio in Jennifer Jacobs from Jackson County, and my predecessor, Chris Mangold, who's with us today. So would you join me in thanking them for their hard work? I came into economic development 3 years ago after a career in staffing and workforce development. And it was there that I had the opportunity to see firsthand what regional economic development can do for a community. A successful project like this in Jackson County doesn't only benefit Jackson County, it benefits the entire region. It's going to bring jobs and opportunities to the residents of Southeast Ohio. So we appreciate everything that you're doing here today. I want to mention to you that the JCEDP team has been in support of this project from the beginning under Sam's guidance, and that we voted unanimously to support this project over and above the grant support that we normally give a project. And that just shows how important we realize this is to this region. I also want to take a minute to say, on behalf of the JCEDP team, that Sam, we want to thank you for your leadership and for your expertise, and most of all for your passion for Southeast Ohio, because the efforts that you're putting forth right now are going to benefit this region and families for generations to come. Thank you for that.
Thank you, Tammy. We are really privileged today to be joined by the Ohio Southeast team, and especially their leader and their president, Mike Jacoby. For those of you with a extended memory, I won't say long memory, Mike actually once led the effort through our organization at the time was known as the Economic Development Board in the early 90s. Mike, for a time, was the director here. So Mike has done economic development at the local level, state level, regional level. He has represented Ohio on visits to China, and he is somebody I greatly respect personally and professionally. He is a hero of the profession, and I'm not just heaping praise on the guy. I wouldn't say it if it weren't true. We are very privileged to have him leading this team in Southern Ohio, and he is fighting for us. There are people at Jobs Ohio who check their curtains at night and make sure Mike's not driving by their house, because he pursues resources for our communities that aggressively. So it is my privilege and honor to introduce somebody who took a lot of arrows and made a lot of phone calls and did a lot of presentations to make this project happen. Please welcome Mr. Mike Jacoby.
So, okay, first of all, I don't think Sam knew me at all when I was in Jackson. Yeah, yeah. So, and he has no idea. I don't think I screwed anything up really bad, okay? But I was right out of grad school and I didn't know what I was doing. But I worked with a really great group of people, and it's a fine community. And I think Sam. I know Sam went a little bit over the top here, but but I do appreciate it. You know, a lot's been said, and I guess I just want to congratulate this community. You've got a prime piece of real estate here, and it was not easy to get there. I know Sam has done a lot of work to get to this point. Anytime you're managing contracts and you're trying to come with match money and you're trying to get the reimbursements timed right and make sure you're not going over on your invoices. And then, oh, by the way, you've got to get an EPA approval in the process and you don't know what you're going to find when the backhoes move out here. That's scary stuff. So Sam did a fantastic job. Taylor Stepp from our team, where'd Taylor? There was a little bit of home cooking going on here, I believe. Taylor was complicit in that, and our region's a little bit different, and so sometimes you gotta be flexible and you gotta bend rules. And Taylor and Sam made a very powerful team, but none of that would happen if there wasn't a board that worked together, if there wasn't a city and a county that worked together, if there wasn't village or city leadership that saw the vision and was willing to invest in it and believe in it. So congratulations to you all. Of course, this is only part of the work. There's a lot more that needs to be done, but you have really good momentum. I was just looking at some numbers that Destiny from our team put together. Destiny's our engagement manager, and Taylor works with companies typically, and Destiny works with communities. And we've got new tools to help communities. The momentum I was talking about, we helped assist 6 projects in your county last year, and we've helped 3 so far this year. We're typically providing incentives for companies to make capital investments and to add jobs. We are the Jobs Ohio network affiliate, so we essentially serve as the field staff for Jobs Ohio, which is the statewide privatized economic development group. And we are the subsidiary of Appalachian Partnership, Inc., which is the business leadership board that Glenda is building for the region, setting a strategic direction and then using their muscle to advocate for the region. But those 9 projects in the last 18 months, there's about 185 jobs that those companies have created or will create. That's powerful stuff. I know from talking with Taylor and Sam, you've got other projects in the works that maybe there'll be even more success. It's a really good time to have a shovel-ready site. So congratulations. We're happy to be a part of it. And more hard work comes next, and I think maybe your next speaker gets into that a little bit.
So we are actually in this, what would have been a storage warehouse for Meridian 15 years ago, but it was purchased 7 years ago, 8 years, 7 years ago by the Ohio South Central Railroad. They've through the Ohio Rail Development Commission, they actually have invested a lot of money in rehabbing it and improving it, and has been rebranded and used now as the Jackson Logistics Center. Which I want to thank Ohio South Central Railroad for being our host today. Just this nice visual of the property. But there's another person who works really hard for this community to grow the rail business, to assist our companies, and he wanted the opportunity to come update us on some projects they're doing and some plans they have. So please welcome Mr. George Andrus.
former Meridian site, former Goodyear site. Welcome to the Jackson Logistics Center. Actually, this event is very well timed for several reasons. Number one, we've been leasing this building to Columbia Gas for the last 2 years for their pipeline project. And they just really vacated at the end of June. So it's perfect timing from that standpoint, but it's also then perfect timing for the next step. Because like Sam had said, we were not really able to aggressively market this site until the brownfield condition was taken care of. So again, timing is everything. Now that we are at this point, we can aggressively market not only this building, but this site. And from day one, we've committed to Sam that if you have a prospect for an industrial company to move in here, this property is his to market along with that. So we're in complete agreement that if we can maximize his acreage with this 5.5 acres, it increases that potential that we can get a project in here. So I'm sure particularly those in Jackson County know that when we took over operation of this line in January of 2014, the condition of the rail was just at best terrible. It was all in what the Federal Railroad Administration calls accepted status, which means you cannot go over 10 miles an hour. And of course, we had many wheels on the ground and so on as we took over. But we've worked hard to bring that line up to speed. And I thought it might be a good opportunity to give you a quick update on what we have accomplished and what we are doing it right now. So again, since taking over, we have rebuilt 42 miles of track. Richmondale to Hamden, Hamden to Red Diamond, which is Austin Powder, and then, of course, Hamden through Jackson. We have to thank the Ohio Rail Development Commission for working with us from day one and helping to get this done. It turns out it's probably about an average of 50% of the cost of rehab has been borne by ORDC and 50% by us to get this job done. So just in the last year, and of course this is all being done by our own employees and our own equipment, but we completed the rehab of this Jackson line, which included not only the tie replacement and ballast and tamping and lining, but repair of 13 timber bridges and 7 crossings that were replaced. We just did finish constructing a 2,200-foot, 30-car siding at Richmondale, totally with our own funds. And we hope to build a rail transload facility at that location. We most importantly have completely rebuilt this 1,200-foot siding coming into the project here. So that's been totally funded by Sam through the rehabilitation grant. So we really appreciate that support. Current projects. So what we're doing now, you probably got detoured this morning, but we're trying to complete 3 crossing replacements before Mayor Evans' big paving project starts next Monday. So we've replaced Burlington Street last week. We are finishing up Harding Street crossing this morning, should be open by noon tomorrow. And then Huron Street crossing will be next week. We are also installing lights and gates at two locations in Wellston on State Route 327, which is Broadway. That's under contract. And the second one for State Route 93 on the east side of town just went out for bid yesterday. So both of those will be finished yet this year. That's about $300,000 worth of projects for those two. And then the other project, which actually starts next week as well, is rebuilding the last 5 miles of track that we operate. And that's from what we call the Aluchem lead from Jackson on out to the Aluchem plant. That's a $620,000 project. Some rail replacement, of course, tie replacement, bridge repairs, and crossings. So the intent here is we'll be spending about $1 million this year on track work. So where do we go from here? Next year, with the mayor's help, we'll be replacing the Main Street crossing. And don't start cussing us yet. I mean, it'll come, but we're going to put in a high type, what's called a tub type concrete crossing at that location. And then we hope to be able to start on the next phase, which is rehabilitating the track down towards Oak Hill. But of course, we need a customer to be able to help justify that project. So we're aggressively working on that. So in conclusion, why is this important? In conjunction with what's been done here on the site and so on, having this railroad back in condition means everything in terms of being able to support a customer, be able to give them the service and all that they need to thrive and grow. So again, we're partners with the whole group, and we're here to stay. Thanks.
Thank you, George, for many things. At this time, Mr. Pritchett, I'll give the floor back to you. I just will give everyone assurances that per our agreement with Jobs Ohio and our grant, this property is being targeted for certain targeted industries, primarily in the manufacturing realm. So our local media partners will know there will not be a Dollar General on this property. So, Steve, it's yours.
That's not what you told me this morning. Keep it. Just want to thank everyone for coming. Normally, we try and keep our meetings within a reasonable time frame. We covered a lot of ground here this morning, and it's 12:01, so we did it within about an hour. So I want to thank everyone again for the efforts coming out. One of the things, Tammy, you mentioned, and it kind of hit me, was you said this project benefits the whole area, not just Jackson. And it really does. You know, there's that old saying, rising tide raises all ships. And I think that's what we might have here. And by having this covenant not to sue from the EPA, it opens a lot of doors for the whole area. With that being said, everybody have a good week, and we will see you at our fall meeting. Thank you.
For those that are interested in actually seeing the property and asking questions about the